thrill of riding in a bunch is what many of us love about racing. It's an exciting place to be, and if you race smart, you can conserve energy, which could help put you in the mix for the finale. However, if you don't use the right etiquette, you will not only make things harder for yourself, but also make things dangerous for those around you. So it's important to keep it safe and race smart.
Always be thinking about position. You might be used to riding in a group on the road, but not to the close proximity and high speeds of a fast-moving bunch. Position is key. Try to stay in the top 15 riders and look to experienced riders to use as markers. But don't overlap the wheels. Try to stay to the outside of the wheel in front of you.
Remember, do not take undue risks, and at all times avoid crossing over the white line. Racing like a pro is all about racing smart. Learn from others around you. There will be some experienced riders in the bunch, so don't be afraid to ask for tips or advice, especially if you're relatively new to racing. Don't make sudden movements either from side to side or with your brakes. The close proximity of a bunch racing means that sudden movements can cause crashes. Even if the person immediately next to or behind you doesn't come off, the chain reaction of a movement in the bunch may mean that someone further back hits the deck. Try not to move suddenly left or right without checking first that there is a space to do so. And even if there is space, still give an indication with your hand that you are about to move out. Also, try not to pull brakes on suddenly in a panic unless it's absolutely necessary. If you get the sense that someone next to you is about to move over without looking, just give them a gentle touch to make them fully aware that you are there. Avoid contact where possible, but if you do come into contact with other riders, don't panic and just hold your line. If you're in the middle of a group of riders, you'll need to pick your line more carefully, as inevitably you risk cutting up the riders next to and behind you. You'll need to go with the flow of the group, following the lines of the riders immediately in front. With positioning often crucial in road racing, it can be tempting to try and move up at all costs. However, don't try darting into spaces which really aren't big enough. If one of the riders moves across, then you'll be stuck and you could bring somebody else down. Race on the correct side of the road and keep it safe by racing smart. Don't just keep your head down looking at the wheel in front of you. It's important to look ahead, not only to try and see what is coming up on the road, but also because you can make judgments on the direction of the bunch. Looking ahead will also give you warning if one of the riders in front of you drops the wheel, so if you've got the strength, you'll be able to move quickly and close the gap. One of the many unwritten rules of road racing is not to infiltrate a line of teammates if they are working on the front of the bunch. They have control of the race, and you should ride either between them or to the side of them. Good etiquette is always important when you're in a race, so warn others of hazards. Just like in training or group riding, you should warn fellow racers in your group of any upcoming hazards, whether that be potholes, parked cars or gravel.
Left.
Vocal calls vary in different regions, but if you shout loud enough, then the people behind you should understand what you're talking about. In a bunch, you need to look after yourself and the others around you. This is all part of racing smart. Mind your manners. Snotting or spitting whilst in the middle of a peloton probably isn't going to win you many friends. If you must do it, go to the back or to the side, away from everyone else. Don't put your wheel directly behind somebody else's. Having your wheel slightly behind and to the side of the rider in front of you will mean you won't hit their back wheel if they suddenly brake. This will give you the option to move up through the bunch with ease. It's important to keep hydrated and top up your energy levels whilst racing, but don't do it at the cost of your fellow riders. If you're not experienced at eating or drinking on the bike, think about when you do it, i.e. not on a flat road sprint or on a windy descent. Remember to always race smart. Communicate, ride steady and be considerate. It's the race smart thing to do.
The first and most obvious step is not to panic. If you get nudged, then the worst thing you can do is to overreact and swerve over the road.